Writing chord progressions has to be one of the most important aspects of songwriting, and it's something that always kind of confused me back when I was first getting into music, back in my early years of trying to compose and trying to write songs and write music. So in today's video, I wanted to share with you a really awesome trick, explain some basic kind of theory for you, and see if I can help you write some more interesting sounding chord progressions today, because there's a lot of wonderful examples of this music in music that all of us love, and it's a kind of key to the kingdom that I wanted to offer you guys, and that is using the idea of modal interchange. What is modal interchange? I'm so glad you asked. It's a fancy term that basically means we're going to borrow chords from different keys. A lot of us, even if we're only of an intermediate understanding in theory, have heard of borrowing chords. And basically what that means is you're kind of cherry picking chords from a different key and putting them in a different key. So if we were to look at today, I'm just going to use examples in C. And what we would look at for this example of modal interchange is we're going to want to look at a parallel mode. Now, parallel mode sounds fancy and scary. All that a parallel mode means is that it shares the same root note. So for example, C major and C minor are parallel modes. Now, if I was in the key of C major, I would have C major, my 2 chord would be D minor, my 3 chord would be E minor, my 4 chord would be F major, my 5 chord would be G major, my 6 chord would be A minor, and my 7 chord would be B diminished, which, if all of that seems confusing, that's totally okay. I'll have some diagrams popping up comparing these two in a minute. Now, if I was in the key of C minor, I would have C minor as my 1 minor chord. I would have D diminished as my 2 chord. I would have E flat major as my 3 chord. I would get F minor as my 4 chord. I would get G minor as my 5 chord. I would get A flat major as my flat 6 chord. And I would get B flat major as my flat 7 chord. Now let's look at how we can kind of pick and choose between these to spice up our chord progressions and give us some kind of fresh and new, more exciting new ideas. So if we were to say, let's take a simple chord progression. If you've ever seen one of those videos where they sing like 20 different melodies over the same chord progression, this is that chord progression. So it would be a 1, 5, 6, 4 chord progression. So that's C major in our key of C to G major, A minor, and then F. This is like the Beatles' Let It Be. So many different songs. But anyways, if we have that would be, if we were to call it by the chord numbers, this would be a 1, 5, 6, 4 chord progression. And again, it's a beautiful sound. But let's now steal one of our chords from the key of C minor. Now, one more time before we get into this, you can pause the video when this diagram pops up, but the chords in the key of C major are C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished, and then we would get C again. And then our chords in the key of C minor are going to be C minor, D diminished, E flat, F minor, G minor, A flat, and B flat. Now, all of these chords are technically fair game, but one of the easiest ways to use this idea of modal interchange is to take a chord progression that works great in major and then just steal a different chord from it. So for example, in this first example that I'm going to show for you, I'm going to play this C, G, A minor, and F progression, but I'm going to put in A flat standing in for my A minor. So what I did here is I traded the major scale's 6 minor chord for the the parallel minor again, because we're using C major and C minor to pull from. I'm going to replace 6 minor with flat 6, and flat 6 major comes from the minor scale. Now this is what that would sound like. I'll play it once with the A minor, and then I'll play it again with A flat. So here's that chord progression. If we were to just use plain old bar chords and stay in the diatonic key of C, we would get this. Sorry. Now here's it with the flat 6. I really really like that, personally. It gives it this kind of interest. And this is the beautiful thing about using modal interchange, is that you get these chords where that A flat doesn't necessarily sound wrong. Our ears are willing to accept it because these both came from parallel modes, but it does add a little bit of interest. I'm going to try this again, just in case that was too boomy for my mic. I'm going to play this with just some simple triads. So this chord progression could go C, I'll do it once, just with the polite in the key of C chords, and then I'll do it once where I borrow that A flat chord from C minor. So here's C, G, A minor, F, and then I'll do C, G, A flat, F, and we would get this kind of sound. Now here's with A flat. They're all beautiful. Now, what if we subbed out a different chord? So again, we're going to take one of the chords from C major and pick in one of the chords of C minor. So let's say we'll put the A back to being A minor, but let's change our F chord to an F minor, because F minor would be my 4 chord in the key of C minor. So now, I'll try this with bar chords just on the middle 4 strings. We would get this kind of sound. So I'll play it C, G, A minor to F major, so you can hear that once, and then I'll do it with F minor standing in for F. So here's the major version. Here's the minor. That is one of my favorite sounds in music, is stealing that 4 minor chord and putting it in a major key. It's something that tons and tons of songs do. For example, Radiohead's Creep is one of the main ones that loves to be used. Creep. That 4 minor is a really, really beautiful chord to turn around to our 1 chord. Now, let's take a look at what happens if we changed both of those chords. Because again, there's no rules. It's kind of like cooking, you know? If you like a little bit more salt in a dish, put more salt in the dish. If you like a little bit more cumin than the recipe originally called for, put more cumin in it. You can really do any of these. There's no set hard and fast rules. This is just maybe the easiest way to dip your toes into this idea of modal interchange. So let's say we're playing a simple chord progression. Let's say it's that 1, 5, 6, 4. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace 2 chords. So let's say I keep C and G, but then I'm going to borrow A flat from C minor, and I'm going to borrow F minor from C minor. That would sound like this. So here's the normal 1, 5, 6, 4, and then we'll do 1, 5, flat 6, 4 minor. And that would sound like this. So here's the normal one. Here's with 2 borrowed chords. Perfectly, I'll keep them in. So that's just a really cool trick and a cool way to start experimenting with modal interchange. Again, you could take any chord from the key of C minor, but doing this simple little replacement from the relative minor, I find is a really approachable way to kind of get comfortable with the idea of modal interchange and how to actually put it into practice. So if you found this video useful, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe. It truly helps me out more than you know. If you want, you can take a guitar lesson with me. There's a link to get in touch with me down in the description. I'd love to work with you on whatever's troubling you on the guitar. If you'd like to support me in all the free educational content that I put out here, you can subscribe to my Patreon page down below. All of my patrons get early access to my videos, as well as cool behind-the-scenes sneak peeks at stuff that I'm up to, as well as just kind of being a wonderful little community of guitar lovers. So I'd love to see you over there. Another great way to support me in the channel is to purchase either my ebook or one of my video courses, which are also linked down in the description. It's a great way to get some more in-depth educational content from me than I can fit into a 10 to 15 minute YouTube video. And last but not least, I have new videos coming out every single week, so I hope I'll see you in the next one. And until I do, I'll wish you a wonderful day, and I hope you have some fun playing the guitar. Thanks.